Now, there is a chance that I just have an almost concerning obsession with both One Piece and politics. But when I watch One Piece, it is extremely difficult to not notice just how political the series is. Clearly, the author, Oda in this case, had something to say politically. See, the series deals with complex institutions and power structures. It deals with heavy political subjects like discrimination, slavery, oppression, exploitation, tyranny, just to name a few. And you could honestly go on and on all day about the various political topics that One Piece covers.
One of the most obvious ways that Oda uses politics to tell the story of One Piece is the world government. Like, obviously the world government is political. They're a government. The world government utilizes its power to protect celestial dragons, a group of individuals with supreme privilege who can oppress, kill, torture, enslave, and pretty much do whatever they want while facing no legal consequences. And believe me, they exercise that power quite often. The world government claims that its existence is necessary because they have to maintain law and order and carry out justice. But in reality, it is merely a corrupted institution that serves no real purpose other than to protect the ruling class of elites and their interests by turning a blind eye to their cruel and unusual actions and even offering them full protection and immunity. And when they talk about having to carry out justice, you really have to wonder, justice for who? Because they allow and protect systems of slavery, they allow and have committed genocides, they prop up mass-killing psychopaths in positions of power, and they constantly allow crimes against humanity to happen under their watchful eye, and sometimes even on their call. And anyone who threatens their tyranny has to meet the force of the world government military branches, most notably the Marines and Navy, who are ready to carry out their will at any time. You know, this kind of sounds like real life. There is, of course, a political message here that we can apply to real life. The world government is a warning for what happens when we let a ruling class of wealthy elites have too much power. They can, if unchecked, do whatever they want, and even normalize things that would otherwise be seen as completely unacceptable, like murder, slavery, torture, etc. If they convince society that maintaining the status quo is the most important thing we can do, they can commit whatever messed up acts they want to under the guise of maintaining order. And they can convince the population that their evil acts are actually necessary for the greater good.
The world government even works with pirates sometimes. The same people that they claim to be protecting society from. Sometimes they'll elevate the pirate status in exchange for help in future conflicts. Fuck you.
The fact that the world government is willing to not only work with their enemies, but also elevate their status, just goes to show that they're willing to bend their own morals and break their own laws if it means protecting the interests of the ruling class. Kind of like how in real life, governments may place murderous psychopaths in power in different countries at the expense of those countries' populations just to protect their own interests. The USA, for example, has helped multiple fascist dictators gain power to maintain its control over certain regions and countries, despite claiming that they are doing it in the name of freedom and democracy. The series also features a revolutionary army that stands in contention with the world government and its oppressive forces. The Revolutionary Army is an armed militia that believes that the system put in place by the world government is unjust and only meant to serve the higher-ups while they commit nefarious acts against the common man. And it is because of this that they do everything they can to take down the world government and dismantle the system of celestial dragons by inspiring the oppressed masses to take up arms against their oppressive leaders, and sometimes they even sabotage supply lines to stale economic growth. The revolutionaries were started by Monkey D. Dragon, who used to be in the Marines until he slowly started realizing that all the justice they claimed to uphold never existed in the first place. The conflict between the world government and the Revolutionary Army is a very political one, and it's realistic too. Just like in real life, wherever there is oppression, wherever there is tyranny, there will always be a resistance against that. And the event that led Monkey D. Dragon to start the Revolutionary Army in the first place is also an extremely political event, a genocide. Because yes, genocides are committed in One Piece. But hey, it's just a fun little pirate story, right? Anyway, genocide. The world government committed a genocide against the people of Ohara. Why did they do this? Well, the scientists in Ohara were researching a century labeled the Void Century, a period in time forbidden by the world government to research, probably because it would put their power and the status quo at risk. Now, like I said, this is an extremely political thing to put into a series. Clearly, Oda is trying to warn us here about government censorship. The government can become so powerful that it can straight up rewrite history and ban people from learning certain sections of history that would go against its interests. Ultimately, I believe that One Piece is a series that supports armed struggle and revolution against oppressors. Kind of reminds me of... Nah. Anyway, the politicalness... Is that even a word? The politicalness of One Piece goes far beyond just the world government and the revolutionary army and the conflict that they have. You see, One Piece has dealt with issues like racism and discrimination, primarily through the Fishmen, a race of humans who have historically been oppressed, enslaved, and tortured by other humans because they were deemed unworthy of equal rights and seen as an inferior subspecies. Sounds familiar to a lot of human conflicts that we've had in the real world. The character of Arlong is a great representative of how oppression can drive the oppressed to have blind anger and resentment towards all people belonging to the group of the oppressor, even towards the innocent people. See, Arlong became evil and caused pain to humans due to his blind thirst for revenge after witnessing the horrors of oppression by humans on Fishmen when he was younger. In real life, we see quite often how oppression can drive individuals into extremist groups and ideologies. These are natural responses to growing up in places where you witness oppression being justified and even legalized under the guise of your people being inferior to the ones doing the oppressing. I'm not saying that it's okay to become this way, and neither is Oda, but it is something inevitable when the people are being treated the way that they are. With regard to the Fishmen, there's another great Fishman character named Fisher Tiger, who used to be enslaved by humans, but broke out of enslavement and became a figure of hope for the Fishmen and enslaved people everywhere, even freeing human slaves. However, he ended up dying after being betrayed by humans who ratted out his presence to the Marines, who then proceeded to shoot him and his crew multiple times. And Fisher Tiger could have been saved had he accepted human blood, but in the end, he refused to and chose to die before ever accepting the blood of another human. This triggered Arlong's hatred, and he hated humans more than ever before from this moment on, which led to him committing the atrocities that he later committed. Oda here paints the cycle of hatred, which is something that is extremely difficult to break, as grudges, hatred, and oppression can be passed down through generations. Oda later shows a scene in contrast, in which Jinbei, who used to be a part of Tiger's crew and also hated humans, gave his blood to Luffy to save his life, something that was never done before, a fishman giving a human his blood. A beautiful moment that I believe showcases Oda's politics. He obviously wrote this as a metaphor for racism and discrimination, and that as long as we don't amend the scars of the past between different groups of people in society, then we may never get past the cycle of hatred that consumes us.
傷つけても傷つけられても流れる赤い血
Individually, some of the arcs in One Piece are great at representing political issues as well. Drum Island, for example, could be viewed as a warning as to what happens when the public has no access to healthcare. In the arc, King Wapol kills any doctor who doesn't bow to his feet, leading to a doctor shortage, which he uses to weaken the population and maintain power and control. This forces the citizens of Drum Island to look for other alternatives on where to receive treatment, and all that's left is one doctor who can heal you but charges you an arm and a leg, because, well, private healthcare is expensive. Dressrosa shows us that although some societies may appear to be prosperous, the methods used to maintain that prosperity are often unethical. In this case, Dressrosa uses slave labor. Much like how in the real world, countless societies have built their wealth and prosperity on the backs of enslaved or exploited peoples. Fishman Island arc shows us how discrimination can impact a population's way of thinking, and that oppressing people for too long will eventually lead to them fighting back, and they may not always fight back in the prettiest way. The series is packed full of political messaging. Now, I want to make it clear, I don't think that noticing these things is necessary to enjoy the series. I think One Piece is a great show that's fun to watch, even if all you care about is the rubber guy on the screen punching the bad guys in the face. However, I do think it's important to understand these themes, because if you agree with them in the series, then I personally feel like you should probably agree with them in real life too. Like, I can't imagine a One Piece fan getting caught up to One Piece and still remaining a bigot. Like, how are you homophobic or racist but like One Piece? Are you even paying attention to the show? That's another thing. The diversity in the series and the way people of different identities are portrayed is definitely a political statement by Oda. He's clearly showing us that he respects and appreciates diversity. I mean, there's a whole arc in which Luffy is saved by a bunch of queer people he met in a prison, and we even get to see Bon Clay is an absolute king, by the way, perform the queer Gatling. Like, this move is hilarious, and I love that it exists. There's even this funny scene where Bon Clay hugs Luffy and says, "Queers never die." Luffy would be dead without queer people. And the fact that Oda added this to the series shows us that One Piece has a pro-diversity message. The series is trying to tell us that discrimination is stupid, and we should all love each other just the way we are, regardless of identity. It's clear that One Piece is a political series, and if you disagree, I'll have my man Luffy here go to your house, whoop your ass, and force you to like this video and subscribe to my channel. Thank y'all for watching, and peace out.